Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Liz and I'm going vegan while doing things a little extra each time. So it's finally 2020. We're in the new year. Holidays are behind us, but you know what's ahead and what's currently going on? Veganuary. So to kind of give you a little bit of something different, to maybe get you more in the mood of eating plant-based, I thought it'd be fun to do a vegan copycat recipe today. There are tons of times where, as much as I love creating my own recipes and just kind of seeing what I can pull together with the ingredients in my fridge, there are plenty of other times where I'm like, I really want to veganize this thing that I've seen. And one of the latest crazes I feel like online is the Bon Appétit test kitchen videos. They just have a really good cast of people on there. They're all charming. And I recently saw a video where Chris Morocco makes spicy sweet Sambal pork noodles. They looked amazing and I want them. So that's what we're going to veganize today, with a little few tweaks here and there, but I think it's going to be really, really good. So let's get into it. So here is what I'm considering the main 4 ingredients in Chris's recipe. And he's using pork, obviously, it's in the title. But because we don't yet have a good pork substitute, although I'm mad because I just saw the announcement that Impossible Foods is now coming out with a pork substitute. So ideally you could make this whenever that comes out. But in the meantime, I'm just going to use some Beyond Beef. If you can't find the Beyond Beef, like just this package of ground meat, you could totally use their burgers and just mush them up into ground meat. So that's what I'm going to use, and I'm going to significantly halve Chris's recipe, if not more than that, because I'm one person. Because he calls for 2 pounds of meat, and this is only 1 pound. So, and even then, I'm going to do half of this package. So I'm going to do half a pound. So yeah. He calls for, I believe it's 8 cloves of garlic. I have 4 here, even though I'm doing even more than having the recipe, but I love garlic, so we're keeping these. And then he uses a fresh ramen noodle or a dry ramen noodle. I have this fresh package of yakisoba noodles, and so I'm gonna use them. They'll be really easy to do. Don't really have to like even boil them. They'll just be able to go right into the sauce. And then for my sambal oelek, I'm using this chili garlic sauce. And the difference between sambal and, say, like, if you're thinking it's kind of comparable to sriracha, is that it is slightly sweeter and has a much chunkier texture. I don't know if that like translates well on camera. I think you can kind of see like how it has the crushed up chilies down in there. So yeah, this is what's going to give us that sweet heat and kind of like help form our sauce. There's a few other key ingredients, but we're basically going to focus on these 4. Then there's a little bit of odds and ends. Chris does include ginger in his recipe. I don't really care for ginger, sliced ginger. He does it in matchsticks, so I've omitted that. And then instead of fresh basil, I'm using dried basil because I didn't want to buy a whole bunch of basil for this. But yeah, another substitute he makes is he uses regular sugar. I think I'm probably just going to end up using a little bit of maple syrup because I try to stay away from just regular sugar. So aside from those substitutes, it's the same premise, same overall idea. We're just veganizing it and suiting it to our needs and, you know, dietary restrictions. So let's get into it. We're going to start with getting this beef fried up. Now we're just going to break this down a bit, and you probably noticed I put oil down in the pan Chris's recipe calls for it, probably because pork wouldn't release as much oil. And Beyond Beef does have quite a bit of oil in it, like that would release naturally, but I want it to still have that like unctuous, oily feel. If you don't want that extra oil, just omit it. But for the sake of trying to keep in line as much as possible with the recipe, since I've omitted some other things, I'm including the oil. And yeah, we're just gonna break this down, not completely obliterate it, but just break it down into sizable chunks and then really let them crisp up. Really let them just sit here for at least like 5 minutes to brown. Now we're at that 5-minute mark, and when you overturn a piece of the meat, we have this delicious brown crust underneath. So I'm going to get these all flipped and to let them, and break them down a little bit more and get them crispy and cooked through on all sides. After another few minutes and our pork is mostly like nicely crisp and brown, and I've got some smaller crumbles in the center, left some bigger pieces still around the edges, then we can add our garlic and sugar. Oh, the sweet added to it smells so good. After another minute or so, just to get the sweetness and the garlic incorporated, then we can add basil. Chris adds 2 sprigs of basil. I'm just adding a pinch of dried basil. He removes his eventually. I don't care that the basil will be in there. That's fine with me. And then he also adds tomato paste. I'm not really a fan of tomato paste, so I'm subbing just some tomato sauce. And I think that'll be fine. I'm just going to do a little bit. And we get that incorporated. Now at this point, once the tomato paste, well, in this case tomato sauce, has darkened and it's really not a vibrant red anymore, it's much more dull and darkened and muted, then we can add the rest of our ingredients. So we're going to add the chili sauce. And I'm pretty much just eyeballing it. Chris calls for 1/3 of a cup, but since I'm doing a significantly smaller portion, I'm not going to add as much. Then soy sauce. Add a cup of water. And rice vinegar. And then we want to bring this up to a simmer, which it basically already kind of is. Yeah, we want to get this up to a simmer and then let it do its thing, hang out, and keep cooking and reducing until it's a great sauce. So yeah, it looks awesome. I'm gonna let it do its thing. Now, after 30 minutes of just kind of being on a very low heat, you can see that basically all of the liquid has cooked out and just created this luscious meat sauce, kind of like a bolognese. But so what I'm going to do, since my noodles don't have to be cooked in a separate pan, I'm going to add a little bit of liquid again, just a little bit of water to help the noodles out, to loosen them. And I'm going to throw my yakisoba, my fresh yakisoba noodles right in this pan. And Chris also adds a pat of butter to the pan, so I'll add that as well. Can we just like appreciate this? Like, the butter just made everything kind of glisten, and it, like the sauce adhere to the noodles. All right, cannot wait to eat this. Okay guys, here is our spicy sweet sambal pork noodles, courtesy of Chris Morocco at Bon Appétit, but veganized. So let's dig in. I'm kind of a little upset that my yakisoba broke apart and didn't really stay as like long noodles. So maybe a ramen noodle would definitely be better, especially dried and not like a fresh noodle. But yeah, let's I really want to get like a good piece of pork. Okay, let's go for it. Oh my God. So good. Definitely did the right portion of sambal. It's spicy, not overwhelming. Even creamy. I definitely think the butter at the end makes a difference, and I think you definitely need it. I think it would be weird to actually not put it in. Yeah, this is super good. It's very salty, but just so, it's just so rounded. And again, this was without me using the ginger and fresh basil. So I'm not missing either of those things in here. I think it's great as it is. This is delicious. And super quick. you basically just, it's a one pan meal, essentially, aside from boiling your ramen noodles. But come on, it doesn't get much easier. You're just browning meat, throwing sauces into it, throwing liquids into it, letting it do its thing and chill, and it turns itself into this delicious meal for you. So yeah, I think this is a great vegan alternative to what I'm assuming is an amazing non-vegan dish as well. So yeah, just to help get you started with Veganuary. I know we're kind of in the middle of it right now, but you know, if you're doing just like Meatless Mondays, why not give this a shot? It's super easy, super quick. I feel like we all have these ingredients lying around. If, you know, don't go crazy with the ramen. If you have like, you know, the $1 pack of ramen noodles, you could definitely use those. And I feel like we all have them shoved away in the pantry. So yeah, just don't use the seasoning packet and you're good to go. I want to keep eating these, so I'm going to go do that. But thank you for joining me today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And while you're at it, hit the notification bell and the subscribe button so you're notified when new videos go up. And I will see you guys next time. Happy Veganuary. Bye.